Keys, and today I'm going to be showing you something special. But before I proceed, I'd like to say a big thank you to all my subscribers because we've achieved our first 100 subscribers. Now let's work together in getting 200 subscribers. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on notifications so you get notified once I upload a new video. Today's lesson will be for absolute beginners. When I say absolute beginners, I mean people who just see the keyboard as white and black keys. So, when you walk up to a keyboard, what do you see? White and black keys. And you wonder, how do I start playing? First of all, we're going to start by learning how to name the keys. So, if you look at your keyboard, you'll see keys are stacked. The black keys are stacked 2, 3, then 2 again, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, just like that until the end of the keyboard. So, the best way and easiest way for a beginner to learn this is by making use of these black keys. Now, looking at the black keys, we have 2, 3, 2, 3. The first key I'm going to teach you is the key C, because we have 2 black keys, we have 3 black keys. To find the key C, you come to the 2 black keys, you take the first one and just drop it down. And this is key C. You can do it anywhere on the keyboard. You take the 2 black keys and drop it down, and this is key C. You take the 2 black keys, take the first one, then drop it down. This is key C. Anywhere on the keyboard, that's key C. Now, the middle key C on the keyboard, because there are many and they have different pitch. This is key C on the lower pitch, slightly increased, slightly increased. Each one is slightly increased than the other, but they have the same sound. So, the middle one is called the middle C, which is this. The one in the middle of your keyboard. Depends on the number of keys your keyboard have, but the one in the middle is called the middle C. So now, we know about key C. How about other keys? How do you find them? As key C, the white notes are called naturals, while the black notes, the black keys are called sharps or flats. I'll explain that later. Now, we have key C. All the white notes are naturals. So how do we find the remaining keys? This is C. The next white key after key C is called D. Just a natural walk-up in the normal alphabet we know. C, D. The next one is E. The next one is F. The next one is G. Now, after G, I know you're expecting a H, but we are not going to use that. After G, we come back to the beginning of the alphabet. So, remember, this is C, this is D, this is E, this is F, this is G. Now, this next white key is A. We come back from the beginning of alphabets, which is A, then the next one is B, and this is C again. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And that's all for the white keys. So if I ask you to play B for me, you don't need to, well, as a beginner, you can definitely start by doing C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Oh, this is B. But there's an easy way around. This is C. We know this is C. I want to find B. Instead of walking up, we just come down. Remember, if we come to this C here, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, if I ask you to find D, you know this is C and this is D. The next key is D. So it's as easy as that. If I say you should find F, You know this is C, D, E, F. This is F. And that's all for the white keys. Now let's look into naming the black keys. This side it's a little tricky because they are called sharps or flats. Now let me explain by calling it sharps. Moving from C, okay, if we have C, this is key C, and we decide to go up to the first black note, black key after key C, we have C sharp. So C, C sharp, or you can use the early method that I taught you by stacking them in 2s and 3s. So when you get to the 2, the first key is C sharp, but this one is kind of easy to remember because you know C and then you just come up to C sharp. Then you know D. The black key immediately after D is D sharp. Then we have E. There is no black key in the middle of E and F, so we skip that. So we have C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. Now after F, there's a black key. So after F, we have F sharp. Then we have G. Then we have G sharp. Then we have A. And we have A sharp. Now there's B. In between B and C, there is no black key, so we skip that. So altogether, what we have is C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. It repeats all over the keyboard. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. So, moving on to the next explanation, which is why it is called flats. Now, we know these are C. Coming down, we have B. Now, calling this flats. Bringing it down again. Remember, this is B. The first method we used was this is C and this is C sharp. Now, this is B. Coming down, we have it as B flat. So B, B flat. Then we have A. This is A. Coming down again, we call it A flat. This is G. Coming down again, we call it G flat. This is F. This is E. Coming down again, we call it E flat. This is D. Coming down, we call it D flat. Now, this is C sharp and this is D flat. Anyone you call it, you are correct. It depends on your preference. Anyone you call it, it's correct. No one is going to be arguing with you about that. So, let's move into the next lesson, the next topic for today, which is intervals. Now, using practicals to explain this. This is C and this is D. Moving from C to D is called a whole step because between C and D there is a note, there is a key in between two of them, which is C sharp. Now moving from this C to C sharp is called a half step, simply because between C and C sharp there is no note in between. Now, moving from D to E is called a whole step because we have this D sharp in between. Moving from E to F is not a whole step, it's a half step, simply because there is no key in between two of them. Moving from F to G is a whole step, there is a key in between. Moving from G to G sharp is a half step because there is no key in between two of them. I hope you've understood this concept because we are going to be applying it real soon. Now, after intervals, let me test you with this. Moving from C to E Well, we can call that two whole steps. Two whole steps, because from C to E we have C to D, which is a whole step because of this C sharp in between, and then we have D to E, which is another whole step because of this D sharp. So we have one whole step plus another whole step, that is two whole steps. Now moving on to the next exercise, it's called Chromatic Scale. Now we are moving on to scales, and I'm going to start with the Chromatic Scale because that one is pretty easy to understand. Now, what is the Chromatic Scale? The Chromatic Scale on any key is just simply playing every other key. Okay, let's take key C for instance. The Chromatic Scale on key C is just to play C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, and you can continue like that until the end of your keyboard if you want. The same thing applies coming down from C to A flat, from C to B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, just like that. And you can continue down your keyboard as you like. Now, you can actually use this as a finger exercise to get conversant with your keys. You can start off with your right hand because most people will find it easier with their right hand. You can start off with your right hand. Now, how to run the Chromatic Scale on any key at all you start on. When you keep your three fingers like this. So you keep your hand like this, and on the C, this is an exercise I want you to practice. On the C, and then your second finger rather, comes here to C sharp. Then as your second finger is coming to C sharp, you see this position I'm in, then your thumb comes under and strike this D. You see that? So we just repeat the process. And this finger comes to this one. So altogether what we have is, so now you can do like this if you want. You can use this finger if you know it will stress you. If this finger is not answering, you can use this finger. Now, how to use this finger? The third finger, we have C. The same process, but apply the third finger. You use this and strike this, then bring the thumb under and strike the D, and then strike this. Now, using this third finger is actually easier than the first one because after striking this with your thumb again, you can now use this finger, this second finger, and strike this, and then strike this, then continue the pattern. Then, so what I'm doing, I'm using this, then this finger, and then I come down here with my thumb, and then I come up with the same finger, this one, and then I come with my thumb again, this one, then this finger comes here, you see, then the next finger, this one takes over, and I continue the beginning process, which is with the thumb again. Then this one takes over again, and this thumb takes over again, and this one takes over again, and the thumb again, and then this finger comes up. Now, why I'm using this method is because coming up like this, if you're doing this, you can use this finger only in half steps. We where there's no black key in between the two white keys. So with this method you can be fast. As a beginner you can start slow, as in extremely slow, like I know this kind of sounds boring, but trust me, don't sleep on your skills. Because when you hear someone doing something like all those things are based on the skill. If you don't know the skill, you can't do that. You cannot. So the basic thing is to start by learning your skills. After learning skills, then we'll move to chords. So, remember the chromatic scale. Yeah, I've not taught you how to walk down. So, it's basically the same process. Walking down, we have this as C with our thumb. Now, we come with this finger. And then, we have this one again. With this. Our thumb takes over. Then this one. Thumb, third finger, thumb. Then we have the second finger. And then this one. And then. So, as a beginner, this is your practice session. You can just learn how to do this. Sounds boring, but trust me, you need to learn it. Now, after learning it on your right hand, feel free to try out the left hand. Don't get discouraged, because this is left hand. You get tired of actually forcing it to learn, but with constant practice, you'll get there. So, our next lesson for the beginner workup will be on chords. No, sorry. We'll start with the major scale on C. And I'll teach you a trick to find the major scale on any key. If you haven't subscribed, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you in our next lesson.